Good evening. Here we go on a Monday. Yesterday we had some really good games kind of take place where a couple of them actually ended up, going to the very last drive to end up winning the game for most teams, like the Lions, doing the Falcons dirty with Todd Gurley not going down before the end zone and scoring way too soon. And then you got, a couple of the other games that took place, like the Bengals, Browns, and so on. So today we're going to take a dive into a couple of those games, and then we'll be back tomorrow with some with what's going to occur tonight on this Monday night game against the Bears and the Rams. So, are you ready to get your fix? Well, let's start with the Packers taking on the Texans. Now, this was all Packers right from the start, and their offense without Aaron Jones is just fine. Jamal Williams played exactly how the Packers wanted him to, and then some. You know who Jamal Williams kind of reminds me of? Alvin Kamara, because Jamal runs exceptionally well and is a great receiving back, just like Kamara. Also, Aaron Rodgers, after having a pretty rough outing against the Buccaneers, he went crazy against a pretty tough defense. Now, he literally went out there and he picked apart the defense like it was nothing and led the Packers to a 21-0 lead at half. Another thing to note is that Davante Adams, he hasn't lost a step after missing a couple games. I mean, he put up a career-high 196 receiving yards, and he also had 2 touchdowns. I mean, this was a good Packers team who steamrolled a pretty bad Texans team who's now sitting at 1-6, even with their GM/coach out of a job. So, again, the only thing that the Texans have, and I'm not going to say any more about it, is that they only have Deshaun Watson. He proved it again last night, or yesterday. We'll see what happens with that team. I think they need to get dismantled and start from the bottom and go to the top because they owe too much money to too many players, and it's bad. It's a bad situation for Houston. So my top 3 performers for the Packers are Aaron Rodgers, Jamal Williams, and then Davante Adams. For the Texans, I got Deshaun Watson, Randall Cobb, who did exceptionally well, and then David Johnson, who could have played better on the run game, but hey, he still did his job. Now, moving over to the Buccaneers taking on the Raiders. Now, this was a good game, okay, all the way until the fourth quarter where the Bucs punished the Raiders and scored 21 points. This Tampa team, it's dangerous with everyone pretty much healthy. And now that they just signed Antonio Brown to add to that arsenal of weapons that Tom Brady has. Now, as sad as it is that Tampa lost O.J. Howard, it is really nice to kind of see Gronk get his feet under him and play some really nice football. I mean, he now has back-to-back games with a touchdown, and that is something we haven't seen since his time in New England. I think him and Brady are starting to click, and that could be a scary thing. I think we could see Gronk start making a move towards the top of the tight ends in the NFL. It's a long shot, but it's something. They're starting to click. We'll see what happens throughout the rest of the season. Now, the Raiders, they have a solid defense this season, okay? But going against a team that is completely healthy and stockpiled with weapons offensively, it's very hard to stop, okay? I mean, they did it to the Kansas City, but you can't always do it day in and day out. It's tough. It's a tough game that you're playing, and that Tampa team, it's something else. For the Raiders, Nelson Aguilar, he's a completely different receiver from what he was last year with the Eagles, because he literally couldn't catch a ball to save his life. He couldn't. I mean, if you threw a beach ball at him, I don't even think he'd come down with the catch at all. At least last year. This year, though, it's a completely different story. He's catching literally everything. Now, Nelson is what seems to be Derek Carr's number 1 target, because the past 3 weeks, he's reached the end zone, which ties, or he's reached the end zone at least one time in the past 3 weeks, which now ties how many touchdowns he had exactly all last season with the Eagles. And we aren't even halfway through the season yet. So, I mean, hey, Nelson's going to continue to play very, very well, very solid for that Raiders organization. I think he's going to end the season with about 8 touchdowns, probably about 750 to 800 yards receiving. It all depends on how Henry Ruggs starts playing and Hunter Renfrow as well. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. So this game was a battle, okay, like I said, until the fourth quarter, where the arguably best team in the NFL. I think Tampa and Kansas City are right there neck and neck as the best teams in the NFL. But, hey, they just flat out ran away with the game in that fourth quarter. So my top 3 performers for the Buccaneers are Tom Brady, Scotty Miller, and then Chris Godwin. For the Raiders, I got Nelson Aguilar, Derek Carr, and then Darren Waller. So finally, let's get to the Seahawks taking on the Cardinals, which is definitely my game of the week. Now, last Friday, I told you guys that the Cardinals have a legit chance at putting up a fight to win the division, but they needed to take down the Seattle Seahawks, in which would be a very big step. Well, last night, the Cardinals took that step and beat the Seahawks in overtime. Now, this was a tough-fought game, and the Seahawks took a quick lead and kept it until the Cardinals decided to make a push and take it into overtime. Russell Wilson, he played pretty solid, but the big reason his team lost was because he decided to throw away 3 interceptions. Okay, I'm telling you, without those 3 interceptions, Seattle wins this game and makes it much harder for the other teams in the division, like the Niners and the Rams, to compete for the division title. Now, Tyler Lockett, he ended up putting on a show, about 200 yards receiving, and he also had all 3 of Russell's touchdowns, which is saying something. Now, Tyler Lockett is a really, really good receiver, but he could be more consistent. Like I said a couple weeks ago or something like that. If Tyler Lockett doesn't go off, it's DK's turn. If DK doesn't go off, it's Tyler's turn. It's kind of like that same situation with the Rams, which we're going to witness tonight against the Bears. So I think he just has to find that more consistent piece to his game, and he'll be just fine. He's still going to be fine, but he's just a great receiver. So now their other receiver, DK Metcalf, he's crazy fast, okay? And he somehow turned on the boosters to catch Budda Baker on an interception that was about 90 yards, and it should have been returned for a touchdown. But, hey, Metcalf came out of nowhere and stopped it. I went back at the stats. I think he ran like 114 yards, and he ran, I think it was over 22 miles an hour just to catch him. Now, for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray is scary good. Now, this guy is the real deal, and the way he can just use his legs and get away from danger is next level, and I think he does it better than Lamar and Russell when it comes to just getting away from defenders and making plays outside the pocket. I think he's probably the best one to do it. Lamar can, but Lamar chooses to run more. Russell Wilson, he does a little bit roll out of the pocket. I think he has more accuracy out of the pocket than Kyler Murray does. But I think Kyler, he just makes more plays happen outside the pocket, as where Russell Wilson makes more plays inside the pocket. Now, this was a really good game where the Cardinals defense made sure to not give up and stop Russell Wilson, okay, and put the game away, in which, you know, the only time they had the lead in the game was after that game-winning field goal. They didn't lead for 1 second in that entire game. They somehow pulled it off. I was rooting for them. I want the Cardinals to win because this is a good team. We know what Seattle's capable of. Okay, but the Cardinals, I think before the season started, I said the top 3 sleeper teams that people are underestimating, one of them was the Cardinals. I'm pretty sure I had the Cardinals up there that, hey, this team's underrated, and I think they could do good things. And so far, hey, second in their division. I believe they're 4-2 or 5-2 or something like that, right behind the Seahawks, are I think 5-1 now. So, hey, Cardinals are dangerous. They're going to continue to play well. If injuries occur, it could dismantle that, but I think they got enough chemistry to keep it going. But just continue to watch out for that Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, because Hopkins also had another 100-yard receiving game last night. And that's just what we're going to see from him throughout at least this year, maybe next year, and down the road. So, hey, continue to watch out for these Cardinals because they're going to make the playoffs. I honestly think this team is going to make the playoffs this year. And if not, it's from one game. That's about it. So my top 3 performers for the Seattle Seahawks are Russell Wilson, who didn't do so hot, but he did all right, Tyler Lockett, and then Carlos Hyde, who had a pretty good day on the ground. Now for the Cardinals, I got Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Budda Baker. Another guy to note would be Chase Edmonds coming in for an injured Kenyon Drake. Played phenomenal, had a lot of big plays down the stretch where he actually got the Cardinals to go into overtime. So kudos to him for doing that. He's my 4th top performer for the Cardinals, if you will. So that's going to end our discussion today, as yesterday it was filled with some really fun and exciting games. But now, hey, we'll wait for that Chicago Bears taking on the Los Angeles Rams, and which should be a very good and tough-fought game. But anyways, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow, and you just got your fix with the Wicks.